Have you ever had one of those weeks where it feels like life is turning against you? You spill your coffee first thing in the morning. Your computer crashes right before a deadline. You say something awkward and replay it in your mind all night. Messages go unanswered. Opportunities slip away. Things break more easily. Even your own body feels like it's resisting you. And somewhere inside, a quiet thought appears. Of course, this would happen to me. You don't say it out loud, but it's there. Maybe I'm just unlucky. Maybe something is wrong with me. Maybe I'm broken. Now stop for a moment. What if everything you just felt has an explanation? Not in the world outside you, but in the way your mind is working. Aaron Beck, the psychiatrist who transformed our understanding of depression, spent decades listening to people who felt exactly like this. And he noticed something unsettling. When a person becomes depressed, it's not just their mood that changes, their entire perception of reality shifts. What they see, what they remember, what they feel, how they interpret everything, all of it bends. He called this the negative cognitive triad. 3 silent distortions that reshape your entire experience of life. You begin to see yourself as worthless, the world as hostile or empty, and the future as something already lost. This is not philosophy. This is not metaphor. This is clinical. This is real, and it is powerful, because once this filter is active, your brain starts selecting reality. 10 things can happen in a day, 7 of them neutral or even good. But your mind locks onto the 3 negative ones, like a predator that refuses to look away. And suddenly, the whole day feels like a failure. Not because you're lying to yourself, but because your perception has been hijacked. And it doesn't stop there. These thoughts begin to shape your behavior. You stop trying, you delay, you withdraw, you isolate. And then something dangerous happens. Things actually start falling apart. Not because of fate, not because you're cursed, but because your actions are now driven by a system that expects failure. And that system creates exactly what it predicts. This is the loop: thought, emotion, behavior, consequence, and back to thought again. A closed circuit that pulls you deeper every time. And maybe no one has ever explained it to you like this. Maybe you've been blaming yourself, calling yourself lazy, negative, too emotional. But this is not a flaw in your character. This is how depression works. So hear this clearly. You are not weak. You are not broken. You are not cursed. You are inside a system that trains your mind to detect danger, failure, and disappointment everywhere it looks. It's like walking through life with cracked glasses. Everything seems damaged, but the damage is in the lens. And that changes everything. Because if the lens can distort, the lens can also be repaired. What you're experiencing is real. It feels heavy. It feels overwhelming. But it is not destiny. It is a pattern. And patterns can be understood. And what can be understood can be changed. So let me ask you something honestly. When no one is watching, when there is no mask to wear, what does that voice inside your head say about you? That voice, the one that appears when the lights are off, when you've failed again, when you're too exhausted to pretend. If you're depressed, that voice is not just harsh, it's merciless. And worse than that, it lies to you. Every single day. Aaron Beck discovered something crucial. Depression doesn't just make you feel bad, it rewrites what you believe is at the deepest level. About 3 fundamental things: yourself, the world, and the future. He called it the negative cognitive triad, a distorted lens through which everything is filtered. And once it takes hold, reality begins to bend around it. First, it attacks your sense of self. You don't just think you made a mistake. You start believing you are the mistake, worthless, broken, incapable, unlovable. Your mind whispers, you ruin everything. You're a burden. You'll never be enough. And because these thoughts feel automatic, you don't question them. You accept them as truth. Then it moves outward. Your perception of the world changes. People feel distant, cold, as if they are silently judging you. Or worse, not seeing you at all. Opportunities stop looking like possibilities. They start feeling like traps, situations designed for you to fail. And the things that once gave you life, music, conversations, your own passions, they fade. They become dull, flat, empty. The world stops being something to explore and starts feeling like a battlefield you were never prepared to survive. And then comes the final blow. Your view of the future collapses. You can't imagine things getting better, not because you don't want to, but because you literally can't see it. The future feels closed, pointless. What's the point? Becomes the answer to everything. Dreams you once had now feel naive, goals feel unrealistic, and hope becomes dangerous, because hoping means risking disappointment, and that fall feels unbearable. This triad doesn't just distort your thoughts, it starts reshaping your identity. You don't feel like someone who is experiencing depression. You feel like someone who is depression. And that difference is everything. Because the moment you believe these thoughts define you, you stop resisting them. You stop questioning. You stop fighting. You surrender. And that is exactly where depression wants you. But here is the truth, the part most people never hear. What Aaron Beck revealed changes everything. These thoughts are not facts. They are patterns. They are mental habits, built through repetition, emotion, and pain. And like any pattern, they can be interrupted, they can be unraveled, and they can be replaced. This is not about thinking positive. That doesn't work. That's like trying to fix a sinking ship with tape. You don't need decoration. You need understanding. You need to see the system behind the despair, because that system runs on something subtle, something constant, something almost invisible, automatic thoughts that appear without your permission, without your awareness, and they shape your entire day before it even begins. Imagine this. You wake up in the morning, before your feet even touch the ground. A voice has already made a decision. Why even bother? You'll mess it up, like always. You haven't done anything yet. You haven't made a mistake. You haven't even moved. And yet, the trial is over. The verdict is in. Guilty, hopeless, broken. That is not intuition. That is not wisdom. That is not your inner guide. That is the machinery of depression, doing exactly what it was built to do, generating a constant stream of negative automatic thoughts, or as Beck called them, NATs. NATs are fast, they are harsh, and they are convincing. They don't ask for permission. They don't introduce themselves. They just appear and declare something is true. You forget to reply to a message. You're unreliable. You stumble over your words. You're a joke. Everyone noticed. You feel tired. You're lazy. You're falling behind. You always do. But what makes gnats dangerous is not just what they say. It's how believable they feel. You don't question them. You don't challenge them. You absorb them instantly. And this is what Beck found so important. People who are depressed are not just sad. They are convinced their sadness makes sense, that their suffering is justified, that their hopelessness is logical. These thoughts don't ask for evidence. They feel like the evidence. And over time, they create a loop. The more you think them, the more you believe them. The more you believe them, the more you act from them. And the more you act from them, the more negative results you create, which then feed the original thoughts. This is how a self-fulfilling prophecy works. You think, I'll fail, so why try? So you hold back. You don't give your full effort, and then you fail. And your mind says, see, I knew it. It feels like proof, but it was a trap from the very beginning. Gnats don't just affect how you think, they distort how you see risk and reward. They tell you, don't apply, you'll be rejected. Don't reach out, you'll be ignored. Don't try, it won't matter. And the most dangerous part? These thoughts don't feel like choices. They feel like truth. You don't even realize it. but you are being influenced by your own mind. And yet, these thoughts follow patterns, predictable, learnable, interruptible. You are not weak for having them. You are not broken. You are operating inside a system that has been hijacked. Depression is not just pain, it is programming. And here is the part that changes everything. If something can be programmed, it can be rewritten. But to do that, we have to go deeper. Because gnats don't operate alone. They are powered by something even more subtle, more dangerous, cognitive distortions, systematic ways your mind twists reality, magnifies pain, and hides anything that contradicts your suffering. And the moment you start seeing them, you begin to dismantle the entire structure of depression. At this point, you might be wondering, if these thoughts are not true, why do they feel so real? Why can one small mistake ruin your entire day? Why does one awkward moment echo for hours, while 10 normal, or even good moments, disappear completely? Aaron Beck found the answer, and it is deeply unsettling. Depression doesn't just create negative thoughts, it distorts reality itself. Your mind begins to operate through predictable errors, patterns so consistent they can be named, studied, recognized. He called them cognitive distortions, and once you see them, you can't unsee them. One of the most destructive is catastrophizing. A small mistake becomes a total collapse. You make a typo, and your mind jumps forward. They'll think I'm incompetent. I'll lose everything. My life is over. No pause, no middle ground, just instant disaster. Not because it's logical, but because depression feeds on extremes, then overgeneralization. One bad moment becomes a permanent truth. A relationship ends. I will always be alone. Nothing ever works for me. Listen to the language. Always, never, everything, nothing. These words feel real, but they are signals of distortion. Reality is complex. Depression reduces it to a single brutal story. Then comes disqualifying the positive. Something good happens, and your mind erases it. You receive praise. They're just being polite. You succeed. Anyone could have done that. Positive evidence is dismissed, minimized, invalidated, but negative evidence, that is treated as absolute truth. There is also mind reading, the assumption that you know what others think, and that it is always negative. Someone doesn't reply, they're annoyed. I'm a burden. No proof, no confirmation, just assumption, presented as certainty, and finally, all or nothing thinking. If it's not perfect, it's a failure. If you don't give everything, you gave nothing. If you improve, but not completely, it doesn't count. This distortion makes sure that no effort feels enough, and no progress feels real. Now here is the dangerous part. When these distortions combine, they create a powerful illusion that everything is going wrong. Not sometimes, not partially, completely. And because all of this feels automatic, you don't see what is happening. Your mind is editing reality in real time. And here is something important that Beck emphasized. People with depression are not irrational. They are not irrational. They are consistently biased. Their thinking follows rules, broken rules, but rules nonetheless. And the moment you understand those rules, you gain something powerful. You can challenge them. But there is still another layer, a deeper one. Because depression doesn't just change how you think, it changes how you act. And those actions, small at first, almost invisible, begin to create real consequences. Consequences that seem to confirm that everything is falling apart. This is where the cycle becomes dangerous, because now the illusion starts becoming reality. So let's go deeper. Imagine this. Your mind plants a thought. I always fail. And then, depression convinces you to act as if that thought is true. And by doing that, you begin to live in a way that makes it true. One of the most common patterns is procrastination. But this is not laziness. This is paralysis. When your mind is filled with fear, self-doubt, and pressure, even the simplest task feels overwhelming. So you delay, you avoid, you tell yourself, I'll do it later. But later never comes. Tasks start piling up, deadlines pass, consequences build, and suddenly, it's no longer just a thought. It's your reality. It's all falling apart. But the truth is, you were overwhelmed, not incapable. Then comes social withdrawal. Depression tells you you're a burden. No one really wants you around. So you cancel plans. You stop replying. You say no more often. At first, I guess it feels like protection, like you're just resting. But slowly, days become weeks. People stop reaching out. Silence grows. Isolation sets in. And then the thought returns, see, no one cares about me. But what actually happened? You were pushed into hiding and then blamed the world for not finding you. Another pattern is self-neglect. You stop taking care of things. Your space becomes chaotic. You skip responsibilities, miss appointments, ignore problems, and the more it builds, the heavier it feels. You look around and think, my life is a mess. I can't keep up. I've failed. But that chaos didn't come from nowhere. It came from exhaustion, not incompetence. And yet, it reinforces the same lie. I'm not capable. And then, perhaps the most destructive pattern of all, premature surrender. You start something, a project, a job, a path, but the moment it becomes difficult, you stop. At the first obstacle, you walk away, and the voice says, see, you can't do anything right. But what you don't see is how close you were, how many times success was just a little further ahead. If only you had stayed a little longer. Each of these behaviors becomes a brick in the wall that slowly closes around you. Not because you are broken, not because you are weak, but because you've been following distorted instructions. Instructions that lead into patterns that trap you. And over time, those patterns become your reality. Let this sink in. Depression creates the evidence it needs to prove itself right. That is the cruel genius of it. It plants the thought. It shapes your behavior. It watches the consequences unfold, and then it says, see, I told you. But here is the turning point, the idea that changes everything. Aaron Beck showed something revolutionary. If thoughts can lead to behaviors that shape reality, then the cycle can run in reverse. What if you didn't wait to feel better? What if you acted first? What if instead of waiting for motivation, you took a small step, so small, it almost feels insignificant? Because behavior is one of the most powerful levers you have. It doesn't just change what you do, it changes how you think, how you feel, how you see your life. So instead of starting with thoughts, you start with action, and that action begins to crack the illusion that everything is falling apart. Because if depression is a system of distorted thoughts, heavy emotions, and self-sabotaging behavior, then the only way out is to interrupt the system. You don't need to fix everything. You don't need clarity. You don't need motivation. You don't even need hope at the beginning. You need movement. But not random movement, intentional, strategic, precise. Beck didn't offer magic. He didn't tell people to just think positive. He gave them tools that don't depend on how you feel, but that change how you feel by changing what you do. And it begins with one principle. Do not wait for your emotions to change. Act before they do. This is the foundation of what is called behavioral activation, the direct antidote to the paralysis of depression. You don't start with confidence. You don't start with energy. You start with commitment. So small, it almost feels ridiculous. If your mind says, I can't clean my house, you don't clean the house. You wash one dish. That's it. Just one. If the thought is, I'm too tired to exercise, You don't run. You don't push. You move for 5 minutes or stretch for 30 seconds. If the thought says, "I'll never finish anything," you don't try to finish. You open the file, you write one sentence. To your depressed mind, these actions feel meaningless, too small to matter, too simple to change anything. But that is the illusion. They are not small, they are strategic. Each completed action is psychological resistance, a quiet form of warfare. Every small step creates a crack in the structure of helplessness. Each one is a rebellion against the voice that says, "Why bother?" And then comes the next tool. Aaron Beck taught something powerful. Don't just experience your thoughts, track them, write them down. He developed a method called the thought record, a simple process that pulls your thoughts out of the shadows and into the light. Because here is the truth. Thoughts feel real when they stay invisible. But the moment you put them on paper, something changes. You begin to see them, not as truth, but as statements. You write, "What happened? I broke a glass. What did I think? I'm a failure. I ruin everything." What is the distortion? Catastrophizing, overgeneralization. What is the evidence? It was an accident. Everyone makes mistakes. I still completed other things today. And then, what is a more balanced thought? This was frustrating, but it doesn't define me. One broken glass does not mean a broken life. It sounds simple because it is, but it works, not because it feels comforting, but because it trains your mind to separate emotion from reality. And slowly, the fog begins to lift. Then comes another technique, one that goes directly against depression's narrative. You deliberately collect positive evidence because depression filters it out, so you force your awareness in the opposite direction. At the end of each day, you ask, what went right? What didn't collapse? What did I manage, even barely? And you write it down, not because it's impressive, but because it's real. Waking up on time, eating something, sending a message, small things, but they matter because they prove something important. Not everything is falling apart. And then, one of the most powerful tools of all, reframing failure as data. Instead of assuming your thoughts are true, you test them. You turn life into an experiment. If I go there, people will judge me. So you go, you observe, you record what actually happens. And most of the time, the disaster you expected never arrives. Or if it does, it is far smaller than your mind predicted. And slowly, you learn something liberating. Your depressed mind is not a reliable narrator. It is a terrible fortune teller. These tools are not designed to make you feel better instantly. They are designed to rebuild your system, a new mental framework, one grounded in evidence, guided by action, and stable even when things go wrong. But here is the challenge. Even when you understand the thoughts, even when you recognize the patterns, even when you have the tools, it can still feel impossible to begin. Because there is one more layer, something deeper than thoughts, deeper than behavior. A trap that keeps you stuck in the same pain, over and over and over again. This is rumination, and it is one of the most powerful weapons depression uses against you. Even after everything you've seen, you may still feel stuck. You recognize the cycle. You understand what's happening. You try to act, and yet you feel like you're sinking. Slowly, quietly, while your mind replays the same moments, the same mistakes, the same fears, again and again and again. That is rumination, and it is not reflection. It is not deep thinking. It is not problem solving. It is looping, a mental loop that never resolves. You lie in bed, replaying a conversation. You revisit a mistake from years ago. You imagine worst-case scenarios that haven't even happened and feel them. as if they already did, and you tell yourself, "I'm thinking this through." But you're not. You are trapped inside the loop. Aaron Beck understood this clearly. Rumination does not heal. It erodes, it deepens shame, it strengthens fear, and most importantly, it blocks action. Because the more you think, the heavier it feels. And the heavier it feels, the less capable you believe you are, until even the smallest step feels impossible. So how do you break it? First, you name it. When you catch the loop, say it. "I'm ruminating." You interrupt the pattern with awareness. Then you question it. Is this helping me? Is this solving anything? Is this making me stronger or more stuck? And then you redirect. Not aggressively, not forcefully, but intentionally. You move your body. You do something small. You speak to someone. You engage with the physical world, because rumination lives in the mind. And the exit often begins in the body. You don't need to solve everything. You need to break the loop. And then there is something even deeper, something more powerful than stopping the thoughts. Learning to meet yourself without attack, with understanding, with compassion. This might sound soft, maybe even weak, but this is where most people are wrong. Aaron Beck saw something most overlook. Many people who are depressed are not lacking discipline. They are living with an abusive inner voice, a constant stream of self-attack, so harsh that if someone else spoke to you that way, it would be called abuse. You make a mistake. You're pathetic. You feel overwhelmed. Get it together. What's wrong with you? And this voice never stops. But ask yourself this. Would you speak like that to someone you love? To a friend? To a child? Of course not. So why do you speak that way to yourself? This is where self-compassion begins. Not as an excuse, not as weakness, but as clarity. You are suffering, and attacking yourself will never heal that suffering. It will only deepen it. So when you fall short, when something goes wrong, try something different. "I'm having a hard time. I didn't handle this well, but I can try again." That shift from judgment to understanding is not small. It is the beginning of change. Because healing does not start with force. It starts with awareness and with how you speak to yourself. And here is the final truth. You are not broken. You are operating within a system that stopped working properly. And systems can be rebuilt. Every time you catch a distorted thought, every time you take a small action, even without motivation, every time you interrupt the spiral, even for a few seconds, every time you choose understanding instead of cruelty, you are changing something. You are breaking the illusion that everything is falling apart. You are proving, not in theory, but in action, that change is already happening. So now, pause for a moment and ask yourself honestly, what is one thing you can do today that moves you, even slightly, out of this cycle? Not everything, just one thing, because that is where it begins.